Hello and welcome once again to another instalment of my Source Vintage YouTube channel. Have you ever found something and thought, wouldn't it be amazing if I could reunite this piece with the person that it belonged to or a close family relative? Well, this happened to me. I found a World War II air raid identity bracelet. And it was for a child, and it had the name, address on it, and I believe they were worn in case the child was separated from their family during an air raid, or even worse, so they could be identified. A lot of children weren't evacuated from the big cities during World War II, so those that remained in the cities would wear one of these bracelets. Anyway, I thought, with the information I've got, I wonder if I could track down this person. This particular bracelet had the name of Molly Hercock on it and an address of 63 Pretoria Road, Romford. I started off by doing some digging online through various different ancestry sites, looking at things like the census, voters lists, and birth, marriages and deaths. I found out that Molly was actually born in 1931, meaning that she would have been only 7 or 8 years old at the time of the war. I also learned that in 1956 Molly married a Kenneth Eric Lucy, and their marital home was on Victoria Road in Romford. Unfortunately, I also learnt that both Molly and her husband had sadly passed away. Kenneth in 2010 and Molly in 2017. So my search turned to finding a living relative, and unfortunately this is where my search hit a bit of a brick wall. So that's when I decided to contact some of the press in the Romford area to see if they could put something out in their paper and see if it jogged the memories of any of the local people. So I sent them all the information I had, along with some photos of the bracelet, and they came back to me instantly and said they would love to run the story. It wasn't long before I started receiving messages, one of which was from a Claire Davis. She explained that she ran a Facebook group that helped to find people's lost relatives or friends, and she'd managed to locate one of Molly's sons. She explained that his name was Trevor. She passed on my email address, and I didn't have to wait long before he contacted me. I exchanged a few emails with Trevor, and Trevor explained that whilst he grew up with his brother Nigel and his mum Molly and dad Kenneth in Romford, he moved to the Midlands in 1989, and he was now living on the edge of Nottinghamshire. I asked if Trevor would mind if I did a little interview with him for a blog that I write, and he agreed, and also sent me some photos of him with his mum. So here are a few of the questions that I asked Trevor, and I'll read through some of his answers for you. So I asked Trevor what his mum was like as a person, and Trevor said she was a lifelong member of Trinity Methodist Church in Romford and sang in their choir until falling numbers meant it ceased. She and Dad met through the Romford Red Triangle Amateur Dramatic Society, who put on stage musicals twice a year, which were always well attended during their week-long runs. For a long time she was a member of Havering Singers, another choir, which joined with other choirs at Thaxted Church once a year for a public performance. She could also play the piano, and did for many years accompanying services at the church, but would always say she wasn't very good. I'd say she was typical of the age, believing she was meant to help and serve others without much complaint herself. She adored her parents, with her father dying fairly young, which resulted in her mum coming to live with us, something Mum loved. She was very caring, not only raising my brother and me, but she worked as a lunchtime supervisor for 30 years or so at Morney Primary School, the school that she, her dad, my brother and I all attended. In the latter years she kept an eye on her aunt until the aunt went into a nursing home aged 103. She was married to my dad, Kenneth, for over 50 years, and I'd say they were happy throughout. I asked Trevor if his mum Molly had ever talked about her life as a child during the Second World War. Trevor said not really, or not much that I can recall. I believe she was sent to her aunt's in Southwell for a time. I then asked, how do you think your mum would have reacted to being reunited with her bracelet? And Trevor said emotionally she was quite the sentimentalist. To be honest, I'm surprised it ever left her possession. And then I asked, how does it feel for you to now be in possession of the bracelet? Trevor said, pleased. I didn't end up with very much that was really personal to Mum, and this is something very special. I then posted the bracelet to Trevor, and Trevor sent through this photograph of himself with the bracelet. This is the sort of stuff I love. I love bringing these antique items to life, and I think we can safely say that this definitely did that. Hearing about Molly's life, seeing photos of Molly, and a photo of her son reunited with the bracelet. I'll be honest with you, I'd be lying if I said it wasn't very emotional for me at the time. I still receive emails from people who have either seen the newspaper article or they've read my blog post about it. People that knew Molly, all of them saying that she was well known in the area and describing her as a really lovely person. I'd like to say a massive thank you to Trevor, and I wish him and his family all the very best for the future. Well, that's it for this week, folks. I hope you've enjoyed this little story. If you enjoy my videos, please hit the subscribe button. If you have already subscribed, thank you very much for your support. I really do appreciate it. If you're interested in more interesting finds of mine, then please head over to my website, source-vintage.co.uk. I'll put all the links below. You'll find my shop, so have a little look. You might find something that you like. And also you'll find my weekly blog there. I post every Monday. Again, I write about interesting finds, places I've visited. I review antique shop centres. I do the occasional interview with a celebrity antiques dealer. So if that sounds like your street, then please head over and subscribe to that too. But until next time, thank you very much for joining me again, and see you soon.